our guest speaker, and I'm going to pull up his bio. He actually has a very interesting bio. So, Lenny Chesal, he is the CMO and EVP of Business Development at Host.net. He's chairman of the board for South Florida Technology Alliance. He is the Chief Marketing Officer and VP of Strategic. I need to get that paper loose. Strategic Sales of Host.net, one of South Florida's leading cloud hosting centers. He's responsible for the company's sales, marketing, and business development initiatives, and is building on more than 25 years of diverse experience in sales, marketing, and executive management. He is also a driving force for developing the technology ecosystem in South Florida, serving as a chairman for the South Florida Technology Alliance. He is also a cyclist. He is a drummer. He's participating in the Miami Dolphins ride for the Sylvester Cancer Center. And he's also joining the HIV Smart Ride, which is 165 miles going from Miami to Key West. So, thank you. Welcome, Lenny.
Notice I wore the same shirt so you could recognize me. Just in case you looked at the pictures before. Sandy, Mike, thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it. I loved Don Rickles' presentation before. That was great. For those of you old enough to know who Don Rickles are. And those of you who don't, you really missed a funny guy. All right, I told Sandy I made a couple of notes during the presentation I think might be germane. Choosing the right people. So I went to Host.net 10 years ago, and the kid that hired me was about 24 years old. So it wasn't that he necessarily needed the right person, he just needed an old person. And sometimes that is the right person, because the gray hair, for some reason, people want to see gray hair in a meeting, and I fit the bill. Had dinner the other night with our private equity firm, and I'll back up to that. And four of us, our new CFO, my CEO, and our partner from the private equity firm, had dinner. And we were giving each other a ration of you-know-what. Just really ripping each other and making fun and putting stuff on our plates and having a good time. And one of the discussions was the new sales vice president we wanted to hire. And at the end of the dinner, Ted said, the person we hire needs to be able to sit at this table and take this crap that we're giving each other and be able to take it. And think about that when you hire that guy or gal. So, you know, sometimes those social settings that we put ourselves in are a really good place, and I think one of the statements that was made is find different venues for having your interviews. And so if you think this person has all of the, you know, tremendous history and great results in their career, they still have to be the right type of person. I once was interviewed by somebody, and the guy said, he really told me this, he said, I'm an a-hole, I just might be your kind of a-hole. I spoke to him this week. I told him I was going to mention that. Trusted advisor, that was another comment that was made. When I left the previous company, before I went to Host.net, we were sued for non-compete because it was a like kind of company. Well, this is a right-to-work state, and typically that stuff doesn't really work. But that attorney that represented me and the company stuck with us because he did a really good job on that. And 10 years later, he handled our private equity investment. So he went from handling a very little case, but he knew us for 10 years. And when push came to shove, and when we were doing the final negotiations, we wanted that attorney who knew us so well and everything about us at the table with us. And it really helped to get that deal done. The last comment I have is on your network. How many of you have a LinkedIn profile? All right. How many of you don't have a LinkedIn profile? I'm going to embarrass you. Okay, just get one. And oh, by the way, just having a LinkedIn profile doesn't do you a damn bit of good. You want to take your LinkedIn profile and work it. Find introductions. Look for people you want to meet. You can find those advisors in your LinkedIn profiles. And all you need is an introduction from somebody who knows them. And more often than not, that will work. I think LinkedIn is the greatest tool. I've talked to graduate students at the Nova Southeast University, and last night we toured a group of 20 students, graduate students at our facility, And one of the gentlemen came up afterwards and said, I was at your seminar when you talked about that. And I established myself a LinkedIn profile, and it has served me very well. So, you, sir, the only one who's on this, have to raise your hand. If you have any questions, catch me after, and I can give you some hints. I have 2,376 connections. But when I do a bike ride to raise money for cancer, and I just put that little link on there, as simple as that, it reaches 2,376 people. Just like that. Or would you rather sit at your desk and go find all those email addresses? Very useful tool. All right, that was that. Quick history, Host.net. I got there just about 10 years ago. There were 3 employees. It was a little data center. We had about 3,000 square feet of space. Probably had 30 or so customers, doing under $1 million in revenue. And like I said, this young whippersnapper called me and said, you're going to need a job, you should come talk to me. And he was right. I didn't know what he knew was true, which was the company I was working for was going through a downsizing. So I showed up on January 4th of 2004 and said, all right, what are we going to do? He said, well, there's no office for you. You'll have to sit in the conference room. And oh, by the way, it used to be a recording studio, so the walls are padded, so if you really go crazy, you just run into the walls and you hurt yourself. And then if customers don't pay their bills, we bring them in, we close the door, and they can beat them, and nobody can hear what we're doing to them. Fast forward, 10 years later, we have 10 times the employees. We have 10 times the real estate, so we went from 3,000 square feet to about 36,000 square feet up in Boca. We have 40-some employees, which doing 23 million in revenue is a really nice low employee number. So not only do you want to find the right people, don't get too many of them, because that'll really break you. You need 14 new people, but you're growing at what percentage, right? It's managed growth. It's managed growth. And get the right people. Find a job for the right person. I think that was another comment. And one of the things that Sandy and I talked about bringing in the right people. When your company grows, and when our company grew from 3 people, 4 people, I'm a Jewish guy. I should never have a screwdriver in my hand because something will get broken. And that's a guarantee. I actually had a screwdriver in my hand in this company, and I didn't break too many things, but soon enough we found people that knew what to do with a screwdriver. Thank goodness. But there were times where I was installing equipment for people, and I'm a sales guy. So there were a lot of jobs to do when you have those few people. But what will happen is, there will be certain people in your organization when you begin. And your family, right? You're starting a company, you're working day and night, and there you are side by side and filling up gas cans with diesel gas when the hurricane comes. We're in the data center business. We did that. And the guy who lifted the most 5-gallon cans was a guy that at one point, he didn't fit in the business anymore. And how do you get rid of a person like that? It's not easy. It's really, really tough. But you will find, as you grow your business, you're going to outgrow employees. And just because they were there schlepping diesel gas cans with you is not a reason to necessarily keep them on the payroll. Of course you find them, what was the term he used? You bring them back into the workforce, or what? He used a very cute term. You help them find their next step. And it's usually good for them too, by the way. It's not always a bad thing when somebody leaves a company. You're many oftentimes doing that person a favor. But just be prepared for that at some point, the person who was taking out the garbage with you in the beginning, there may come a time when they don't necessarily fit. Then there's the other side of that. You get a guy like me who will carry a screwdriver and go out and sell and take out the garbage. And what you do sometimes with a person like that is, what do you give them? More to do. And you can burn somebody out, because there are some crazy people out there who will do anything you ask them and don't know how to say no. Sucker. You get volunteered for a lot of organizations. I didn't want to be the chair of the South Florida thing. I got volunteered to do that. But you have to be very careful when you have an overachiever, that you don't burn them out. And make sure that you temper that, because people that will always say yes and don't say no, or that something's going to give, because you can't do everything perfectly. This was an interesting story. We made some acquisitions early on. We bought a company and we're in Boca, by the way. We bought a company in Deerfield Beach was called Web United. It was a company that I worked for previously. And let me tell you, there's nothing more fun than leaving a company, going to work for another company, and buying them. How many of you have ever had that experience? It's awesome. When we closed that deal, the first thing I did was went to that office, sat at my old desk, put my feet up and said, the same son of a bitch that sued me too, by the way. That was awesome. But the people that I worked with there were really good people. And when we acquired them, my CEO, God bless him, again, he wasn't quite the kid. I think he was about 27 at that point, so he had really grown up. And he sat us all down, and there were maybe 20 of us at the time. And he said, look around the room. We're all co-workers, we're all family. It's going to change. Something is going to give here. We're going to bring a bunch of new people in. And you're the boss of your department. And you're the boss of your department. But when they come in, you may not be the boss of your department. We may bring somebody in this acquisition who has a better skill set than you, has more attitude, and what was his third one? Competence. Thank you, that was the word I was looking for. It wasn't really a quiz, I forgot. But that person may have those three elements, and they may be a better fit to run your department. And so before they come in here, I don't want you to, it's going to be disruptive anyway, but be prepared for the fact that this new group of people, there are some of them who may very well end up being your boss. It's a whole lot easier to have that discussion then than after it happens. So when those acquisitions and mergers happen, be prepared and prepare your people to know that they are very well maybe their new boss coming in. Not a bad thing. And if somebody leaves because of that, maybe they weren't the right person anyway. So I think that's a really important one. And we learned from it, and those same people, by the way, today, and that was in 2007 or 8, are still in those positions, still running those departments. So this one, Sandy said you guys didn't cover, and you might have guessed I'm kind of a sales guy, kind of a marketing guy. What is your two things, A and B, and write this one down. What is your corporate brand? You have a company. How do people know you? What do they know you as? I made sure that Sandy introduced me as Lenny, the drummer, the cyclist, because that's the stuff when I sit down face to face and, oh, by the way, you're all going to have salespeople at some point. Sorry. Yes, they drink a lot of coffee. Yes, a lot of them smoke cigarettes. They never come to work on time. They're the biggest pain in the butt. Salespeople are, you're hiring them, God love you. And you're only hiring new ones because the old ones sucked. They are a necessary evil. Yes, we are. Those of us in the sales profession know how important we are. Ask us. But we do bring revenue into the company, okay? Some of us consistently, some of us not so consistently. But those sales positions, I know, what can I tell you? So that's the sales part. But the marketing part, right? Your company, I know WeBuilder, you guys have been supporters of Salesforce Technology Alliance, you're part of the community, I'll talk about that in a second. But when you're building your business, whether it's a sub-chapter S, C Corp, LLC, all of that stuff, really, when your salespeople go out to talk to your prospects, doesn't matter. They need to know who you are. What is the company about? What makes you tick? What makes you different? What are people going to remember about you? Why should I do business with you versus the same guy across the street who does the same thing? I bought a car recently and I enjoyed it. I went to Phil Smith Kia in Lighthouse Point, walked in and said, we're just here to look at a car, and that's the truth. And we ended up buying one. And I was like, I'll be with you when you need me. Then we went into the finance guy. He's like, I'm going to make this real easy for you. But you can make buying an enjoyable experience if every person on your team gets it. And so that's probably where you want to end up. That's just my opinion. Meaning that if company A and company B have the exact same service, what's the big differentiator? It's the people. It's the experience. So if you want to brand yourself, start there. It's just so damn important that your company has a conscience, it has a personality. People recognize you because of what you do in the community. They recognize you because of your customer service, your superior product, whatever that may be. But start now when you're building your business plan, put another page in there. Who do we want to be perceived as? XYZ company is that company. Now, how do you get there? What's your personal brand? Who are you? Who are you as the CEO, as the founder of the company? What do people know you for? And you need to find that, and you need to define that. Find it, define it, and then live it. And so, again, when I asked to be introduced as the drummer and the cyclist, that's my personal brand, that's who I am. So when I sit down again and I'm talking to somebody, I'm going to talk about the things that they're interested, and that I'm actually interesting enough to sit and have a conversation with them. And whether it's boating or fishing or cycling. So you need to find your personal brand and make it who you are and stick to it. And be that person. And here's a great way to do it. Get involved. My motto, give until it hurts. Give back to the community, get involved in the community, and then what a better way for people to perceive you and your company as that guy or gal. You know the one. Victor, what'd you say? Oh yeah, I saw Lenny at the What's Your Goods event. I go from here now to another event, go to that event. It's not for me, it's so that I can go home at night and know that I did something that helped an upstart business person, that helped a student who wants to get in, that's what we did with our students last night. So 3, 4, 5 times a week, you can give back and get something back, which is not why you do it, because just feeling good, it shouldn't be enough. And do it for the right reasons. So, your personal brand, important. Your corporate brand, prepare your people when you're growing your company, and don't overwork your superstars. Don't kill them. Because when I started, I had hair. Right, you know? I know. Yeah, so you're working harder than me. And those were my very brief notes. I did not want to over-talk this thing. I'm hoping you have some questions, or you don't throw stuff at me, one of the two. Mike O'Donnell. Mr. Mike?
Lenny, your presentation. Could you speak a little bit about how you anticipate change as the companies grow?
It's a great question. We have a crystal ball. No, actually, we really have an 8-ball, and that's the truth. For us as a technology company, we look more at that element, right? More so than anything else. And again, Don Rickles said, learning, educating yourself is not just with the people. It's being online, it's reading books, it's, you want to educate yourself. You need to be, especially within, if you're in a vertical, if you're in a particular market, not only is it important for your company to become a real expert at everything that's going on, but what happens is when you do that, it's such a great question, because now that I think about it, if you're anticipating change for your company and your industry, what happens is you elevate yourself to become a subject matter expert. So not only do you provide that benefit to your company and your employees, you now bring that benefit to the community at large, whether you're part of a trade organization, whether you're part of the educational community. And what happens is when you elevate yourself to become that subject matter expert and you've educated yourself, strange things happen. Hi, this is Marcia from the Sun Sentinel. Lenny, how you doing? Hey, this is Kevin Gale from the South Florida Business Journal. We're doing this story. I know it's not the stuff you do, but I'm thinking you might have an... You cannot buy that for all the tea in China to have your silly face up to on the quote on the front page of the business section in the Sentinel, in the Business Journal. You can't afford that. So if you anticipate, the best way to anticipate is to educate and prepare yourself and know what's going on and be a step ahead, and you're going to find that you start being perceived as the go-to person. And then once Marcia calls you, and once Kevin Gale calls you, now someone's going to go, oh, Nancy Dahlberg down at the Miami Herald. Hey, Lenny, and it's unbelievable what happens. And it just comes from really knowing what's most current, what's happening. If that wasn't the question, it was a good answer anyway.
I have another question over here, Lenny. There was a question that says, how do you not overwork your overperformers? From this table.
I'll let you know. I don't know. I don't think there's a really good answer because it's human tendency. You know, when you need a volunteer, who do you ask? The busiest person you know. I will tell you that plenty of times on a Friday afternoon at 3:30 or 4 o'clock, my CEO will say to me, "Why are you still here?" So, another thing that Don Rickles said, people go to work, and the high performers are the ones who enjoy and love what they're doing. So if someone's not working for the dollar, the $7.25 an hour paycheck, and they're one of your high performers, I would say find out what they like and feed that. Lenny, don't you have a bike ride coming up? Why don't you take, tomorrow morning and come in at 11 and get a good training ride in? I heard you like fishing. There's this fishing thing. You know what? I'm sending you fishing. So the answer is you may not make them work less, but if you make them feel appreciated for what they do, at least they'll feel good about it. Because I don't think you can stop an A-type personality and turn them into a B. I don't think you ever can. But if you feed what they love, and you know that you're keeping them happy, I'm happy when I run like this. I had 5 appointments yesterday, and I made each one right to the minute. At the end of the day, I was exhausted, but I felt great. It fed that insanity in me. So it's okay to feed it, but kick him out the door once in a while.
We have time for one more.
Lenny, thank you for your message. This is Ron Burvis with 4C over here. Question, you talk about building a personal brand or obviously a company brand over here. I find that it really takes a lot of time to build a real great brand, right? From your perspective, what are some strategies to be able to build that in a fraction of the time? Let's say about a year or so, versus what it usually takes sometimes 3 to 5 years.
You're a great straight man, because I forgot the first bullet that I wrote down, and it's about that. When there were 3 of us, we created, just through imaging and some marketing, an image in the community of a much larger company. We never said we're a 3-person little data center in a garage in Boca. We said, we're the big data center in Boca with all this fiber, and we even did a funny thing. We put the BAFG generators, a big generator, in one of our, we came up with funny acronyms. We created an image of a company that was much bigger than we were. That will bite you in the butt every time, unless you grow into it. So there's a lot of people that believe in visualization. For us, it was visualization. We're going to be this big company. We're going to make it happen. We were pretty aggressive. And so we said, let's put out this image. We're the big data center in Boca. We made it happen. I've heard of Jewish lightning. How we created hurricanes in 2004 and 5, I'll never know. But we managed to do it. We managed to do it. And the hurricane seasons of those years created a tremendous amount of business for us. Some of it, I think, was karma. Most of it was El Nino. So my answer is, create an image that's bigger than who you are. Don't say, here's who we are. Say, here's who we are going to be, but say it as if it's now, and then grow into those shoes.